Welcome to Salt of the Earth Farm Stories, where the heart of farming comes alive. Each week, host Darren Grigg will dive into the rich tapestry of farm life, sharing tales of hard work, laughter, and the incredible people who bring our food to the table.
So I was taking her baby, but every time I drove back in, she'd come and meet me at the gate because I had the baby again and I was bringing her back. Third trip, I didn't bring the baby back. And that was the hardest thing I have ever had to do.
Alpacas!
This is part B of our brilliant chat with Amee Dennis at Quentin Park Alpacas and Studio Gallery. This is classic Amee, full of heart, full of humour, and full of those magic moments that only happen when you say yes to a challenge. In this episode, we go even deeper into the power of real connection, from giving people a taste of rural life to creating life-changing sensory experiences for people with disabilities. And the alpacas? They're absolute naturals at this connection. We also meet some surprising characters, like Dolly the pig, who's notorious for stealing school lunches, and teenage camels just trying to figure out life. There's talk of career alpacas and pet alpacas, and they even have toilets. Plus, stay tuned for some absolutely wild, off-the-wall answers at the end. It gets chaotic in the best possible way. This is a feel-good, laugh out loud, tug at your heartstrings kind of episode. Let's dive into part B with Amee Dennis.
You know, one of the things that I have really loved about what we've been doing is that connection, one with the kids, but also with the disability sector. So, you know, the alpacas know, you know, like we can take wheelchairs and walkers and like all of those things. So I push the alpacas out, we get everybody in, all of the mobility aids of every kind of shape and size and description, get everybody in, get everybody settled, give them all a feed bowl, and then let the alpacas in. And the alpacas come in, find their person, and the animals that won't let me touch them or feel them will stand there for somebody that's in a wheelchair who can just give them an entire body rub down and tell them all of their secrets, and they'll just stand there and do that. And I've had like groups come out to the farm before, and the carers have gone, I have never ever seen this group still or quiet.
Oh,
And it was like, then I'm going to keep putting feed in those bowls.
Amee, that's...
Because there's a connection that you can have, and the animals know. So it's whether it's with kids or whether it's with adults or whether it's with seniors, the animals kind of know that, and they just have this really beautiful, quiet moment.
You're so caring. Like that is not, it's not about selling product here. It's about people's experience, that connection. And you're making the lives of those people better.
Well, that's what I hope. That's what I want to be able to do at the end of the day.
Thank you.
We've just got to figure out a way in the middle to make it
That's
viable
really
at the same
powerful what you've told
time.
me.
Yeah, it's something that's really important. And that's essentially kind of why we started. You know, I wanted to give that opportunity. You know, my grandmother worked in disability services for my whole life, for as long as I can remember. That's where I spent my holidays and my weekends. And, you know, it was like, how do we actually provide these experiences that give all of those kind of sensory options? So it doesn't matter if you can't see them. It doesn't matter if you can't hear them. You know, it doesn't, none of that matters, because there's another way that you can connect. And whether that's you just want to sit with your hands in that basket of fiber, because it feels so nice, or, you know, whether you want to have the feel of that animal or just sit there and talk to them because they're going to talk back to you. You know, like there's a way. It doesn't matter whether you're scared of them, or it doesn't matter if they're not your thing, or, you know, like there is a way that you can connect and engage and have that and take something away.
I think I've heard you use the word agritourism. I'm feeling now it's a bit more than that. You know, with this power and this feeling you're giving to the disability people in particular is amazing, or the aged care or school kids having that connection.
And like a lot of the aged care too, it's old farmers. You know, so many times where, you know, like we've had some of the seniors groups or the aged care facilities, and, you know, you've got the old farmer, and just for a few minutes, you can connect them back into that. And just the looks on their faces, or, you know, like the hug that they give you at the end. There's so many people that by the time they're leaving, they just kind of stand there like, thank you so much. You're like, I'll take love. And they're like, that's good, because I just want to hug you. And you're like, right, I'm happy to take it.
Good on
So,
you.
you know, and you kind of, you know them. So it doesn't matter, you know, like it doesn't matter how tough things are on the outside, or, you know, what you had to fix today, or what you kind of had to think or get through, or, you know, like for us, it's also that opportunity that we've given somebody that makes it worthwhile for us.
Yeah.
So on all of those days where you're like, what are we doing?
Yeah.
And why are we doing it? And why is it worth it? Is the heartache worth it? Is the tears worth it? Is, you know, like, is it worth it?
Yeah.
Then, you know, you have one moment like that and you go, okay, well, maybe it is.
Yes, exactly. Tell us about a typical day on the farm.
Typical days are normally feeding everything, checking everything. At the moment, well, today, my typical day was then wrangling teenage camels back into a paddock because they decided that they could come out of one. You know, like it's all of that. We're open, our farm is open 6 days a week. So there's an element of not only, you know, like what has to get done day to day in the house, but then you're also dealing with water and infrastructure and animals and fencing and, you know, like all of the other parts that go along with that. You know, there's not really a typical day, because like my dad has always said the only reason why he makes a plan is so that some bastard can change it. And I kind of feel like that happens a lot. You kind of make this bit of a plan. You know, we're always doing something with animals. We're always doing something with infrastructure. We're always doing something with product. We're always doing something in the office.
Yeah.
We're, you know, like there's elements of every single one of those things that has to happen every day. It's just sometimes it's smoother than others, and sometimes it's quite a nice little sequenced order, and sometimes it all just goes to hell in a handbasket and you're dealing with something completely different, and then you go, okay, where was I up to? And I'll pick that again up tomorrow.
Now, you mentioned camels. There's not just alpacas here. We've got camels.
Yes.
And tell us about Dolly.
Dolly is a very special naughty pig. She
was very well behaved when you had food there tonight.
Yeah, she was. Dolly is, we should advertise that we're an alpaca farm and then only have Dolly, because she ends up being everybody's favorite. Dolly, when she was little, could fit through the bottom of the hinge joint. School groups were super fun because we would be with kids feeding alpacas, and Dolly would sneak in under the fence and then go through lunch boxes of school kids.
Dolly.
So that was always super fun. So no, Dolly's a very special pig. And, you know, I know that you, like, one of your questions at some point was, you know, do you have a favorite? And I think, yeah, Dolly's definitely up there as far as personality goes.
Okay.
Dolly's also fed by the neighborhood. So we will come home and there will be random bags of, you know, somebody's cleaned out their fridge or their veggie patch or something, and there'll be this box of stuff on the back veranda that's for Dolly. You're like, yep, thanks so much for that. Everybody loves Dolly. And then we've also got 3 llamas.
Yes.
Because when we first started, people were going, well, it's a llama. No, it's an alpaca. It's a llama. No, it's an alpaca. Well, what's the difference? And you can explain the difference, but it was like when we were out having a look earlier, when you go llama, alpaca, you go,
Yeah. It wasn't until they were both together I go,
right. Yeah, okay, I get it.
You explain the ears.
Yes, so the way that you tell the difference, what we say to the kids, llamas have bananas. You will never forget that now. No. And you always have to like sing song it as well. So llamas have got big, long, bendy, banana-shaped ears. So when you're looking at cartoons or pictures or whatever it is, if you've got big, long, bendy banana ears, it's a llama. Llamas have bananas, and just their size. So llamas can get to about twice the body weight of an alpaca. So they're taller, broader, longer, bigger, and they move differently. So the llamas tend to always look like their noses are up in the air a little bit and their tails are slightly cocked. So it's like regal is one word, stuck up is another that I've heard used before for a llama. Whereas alpacas are quite fluid and quite kind of soft in their movements. It's just different. But we have everything here.
You do. Some guinea pigs.
Yes, the girls have guinea pigs
The girls.
and quails.
And you've got 2 girls here,
Yes.
and they love the animals too.
Yes.
Good, thank goodness.
I know. We've collected more since they've got older, and because, it was always like, well, if you take care of it. So, now they can buy their food and, buy them and then look after them. So we seem to be collecting more animals now that the girls have got older as well.
And I'll delve into it more at the end, but how do people purchase your alpaca products?
So either on farm, if you happen to be passing through Peterborough, then make sure you kind of stop in, but online. So we have a website, so Quentin Park Alpacas. If you just put that in, it will come up, and we've got our farm shop is online.
Well done. What's your most popular item right now?
Definitely flowers. Yeah.
And you said you ship worldwide?
We do. So shipping across Australia and New Zealand is the same, and then worldwide shipping's obviously a little bit more expensive. But yeah, we've sent products literally all over the world.
And people can stay here for a night?
Yes.
And which I'm doing tonight.
Yes.
And people can book events. So if you've got a school group coming through or an aged care group.
Yep. And we do a lot of, we do kids parties, but the main thing that we do is grown-up parties. So if you've got, a hen's party or the grown-up's birthday, or you want to do like a high tea or a grazing or, that kind of something a little bit different. We have a lot of people meet here. So like we've got a lady that's coming up in a couple of weeks who's booked a couple of experiences with us. So her and her sister in Adelaide, her son and partner are working in Whyalla at the moment. So they're coming here for the day, they're meeting here and then going home again. But it gives them somewhere in the middle that they could meet and have a couple of hours, which is really cool. We've had a number of like first wedding anniversaries and a whole lot of that kind of stuff, and we've had weddings in the past, and we're hoping to do some of that again. All of that stuff.
Well, so I was going to ask actually, what's next for the business?
Just infrastructure really. So we really want to expand the farm shop.
Yeah.
Like we're coming into the summer again. We trialed a whole lot of stuff last year to see what we could kind of make work this year. We'd really like to expand that, so we not only have our paddock to product items, but some of that farm paddock to plate as well, so that we've got our seasonal produce available. So that's the kind of the next step. We want to expand that space, create a nice little courtyard, create a place for people to sit, and put in a commercial kitchen. So kitchen for us means that you can sit and have a cuppa and something to eat as well, stay a little bit longer, just enjoy the vista, like sitting in the farm and or how that kind of experience works. But also too, for us, if we have the kitchen, it means then that we can do things like jams and sauces and, like a whole bunch of other stuff from the produce that we're looking at growing as well. So that's the kind of that next step for us. And the gallery, that expansion into a separate gallery space, so that we can give opportunities to emerging artists to be able to showcase their work, but also that looking at the raw materials, so artists that are working with their own materials to be able to then showcase the way that works in a kind of more non-traditional format.
And I noticed you've got some really special paper products over there.
Yes.
Curtin Springs paper.
Yes.
Now, you grew up
at Curtin
Springs,
yes.
near Alice Springs. And your family's up there on a 1 million acre property.
Station, yes.
And they're producing some special paper. Can you tell me about that?
So we make paper out of the native grasses that grow in Central Australia. So a lot of people think that there's not a lot of grass in the desert. but there is. We've made paper from more than 30 different types of grasses. You know, we still process the protein that we grow on the property, but we also process the grasses that grow and turn that into really beautiful handmade paper. So then, yeah, we use the paper for all kinds of stuff, and I then take the paper and transform it into wearable art and jewelry. That's where I kind of started from.
It's fascinating to see and think that that's come from grasses.
It has, and so I went to Italy in May as part of Eco Fashion Week Australia. There was a handful of Australian designers that were invited to Italy for some sustainable fashion shows. And what was really interesting in that is I'm one of the only designers that produces the raw materials that I then make products from. And I took both. I took both paper and fiber. So it was kind of like a little bit. I took two collections essentially with me, one of each. And then, just people's reaction to that, and that the material's different, and how does that work? And then how is it made? Which was, really kind of interesting on that kind of global scale as well.
Well done.
That was really good fun.
Okay, back to the stars of the show of this farm.
Mm-hmm.
Can you tell me about some of the different roles the alpacas play here?
Alpacas have got very specific, diverse personalities, and they're very much like people. You will have career alpacas and you have pet alpacas, and they're it's not the same animal. Like, they're very, very different. So we have some alpacas that are true guards, true protectors, true guardians. That is their role. We've had some girls that we have mated every year, that we've tested pregnant every year, but have never actually had a baby. Alpacas can control their pregnancies, so they can choose to remove or absorb an embryo up until 3 months. So you can test them at 6 weeks or 8 weeks and say that they're pregnant, but they can still remove the embryo. If they have a baby, they can't guard. Because just like any mother, like, I can be the security guard, but I'm going to pick up my baby first.
Yeah.
And it works the same way with alpacas. So if they are true, particularly with the females, if they are true guardians, they will tend to not have babies because they can't do their job if they have a baby.
Wow.
And then you've got others who have, by the time they've got one out, they're like ready to go for another, and they'll happily feed everybody else's baby in the herd as well. Like, that's just what they do. Alpacas, they mother collectively, they work collectively. There's so much that I think people can learn, humans can learn about the way that alpacas work as a herd and a collective. So, if as a mum, you just need to pee by yourself. You just need, and for all of the mothers out there, you've had that moment where you're just like, I just need to wee by myself. Alpaca mums do the same thing. So she's like, I need a minute. One of the other mums or one of the aunties will take the baby. So you'll have one of the older aunties that are no longer having babies herself, and she might have 4 or 5 of the babies while the mums go and have 5 minutes. They'll go and wee, they'll go and graze, they'll go and do whatever. And then when they're ready, they'll come back and collect the babies. We had one, so her name was Granny May. She was one of our old girls, and she would nursery all the time. She would look after multiple babies. And there was this one day that she had 6 babies, and she had them all day, a lot of the day. Every time we looked at her, she had their 6 babies, and the mums were off, and everybody's kind of watching. Everybody knows what's going on. The next day, she had 5 babies. And every time this 6th baby came over, she sent it away back to its mother. And I would love to know what this baby did that was so bad that she wouldn't take it and look after it the next day. Like, what can an alpaca baby do that is so terrible, like stick your finger in the PowerPoint kind of bad, that she won't let it back and look after it the next day? And it just is one of those things that I just can't I was like, no, seriously, what did it do? It's like, if they could talk, well, and they do all the time, and I swear that they talk out loud a lot of the time too. But that's one of the things that I've always wanted to kind of find out. What did that baby do that was so bad that you wouldn't have it the next day?
And you pointed out in the paddock before, they've got toilets.
Yes.
And they only wee and poo in that one spot.
They do.
They don't sleep near there. They don't eat near there.
No. So unless they're physically forced to, because their space is small, they will not eat or sleep near the toilet. The toilet's a toilet. And when they feel that septic is full, they'll start a new one. And I was curious when we first got the llamas. So we went and picked up the first llama, and it was about 6 hours drive from where we were. And we loaded this llama up, got back in the car, and I was like, oh my God, llama toilet, alpaca toilet. Like, are we going to have two different, is it the same? Is it a public toilet? Like, my husband at the time goes, Amee, 6 hours in the car. Just shush, calm down. So I was super excited when we got home and we let her out, and the alpacas met her, showed her to the water, and then showed her to the toilet. And she went to it's a public toilet. And even if we swapped the boys with the girls, like swapped them all over paddocks, they won't start a new toilet. They will continue to use the one that's already there. So the worst thing though is if you're trying to move them from one paddock to another paddock and you go past a toilet, it's like when you stop at the servo and you've just got to go because you don't actually know how far it's going to be until you get to the next one. And they'll only go like one or two at a time, and you physically have to, they will not move on until everybody has gone to the toilet, and then they go. But the best day was we were in the shearing yards. There was no longer a toilet in the yard where they go in for shearing. Somebody asked me one day, like, who decides where the toilet is? I was like, oh, I don't really know. But this one day, it was the start of shearing, and we put them all into the yards, and I was watching them in the yards, and there was no toilet. And there were a couple of the girls kind of walk around and around and around and around and around. And you're like, let's just see what happens here. Always curious about what's going to happen. So I actually think the person who starts the toilet and decides where it is the person or the alpaca that needs to go the most. So it kind of got to the point where one of the girls just went. She just kind of stood in this spot and went to the toilet. And then when she finished, you could almost see the relief on half a dozen of the others. They were like, oh my God, thank God somebody decided. And then they all kind of sat, and there was like 4 of them then used that spot. So I think, where that toilet is, where goes is decided by the person who needs to go the most. But, like you could have a 200-acre paddock and there will be like a dozen toilet spots spread throughout. And they teach the babies to go there. That's where they go, whether it's boys or girls, it doesn't matter. It's a communal toilet spot. And it's really good manure. So if anybody knows anybody with alpacas, their stomachs are incredibly efficient and their manure is sensational. So because their stomachs are efficient, you can use it directly from their bellies, basically. And conveniently, they've already put it in one pile. So
good.
Actually, the good job. If you need to go and get manure to put on the veggie garden, it's the easiest job because it's already in a pile. You just need to take the wheelbarrow and the shovel. But it can make anything grow.
Really? Fascinating. Do they recognise you, and do they know their names?
I don't know whether they know their names or they know the tone. So like when we were out there, I can call them. And when you do a particular call, they know that there's something in it for them. And, you'll see all of that. They can be off grazing and you call and all of the heads will pop up, and they know the sound of that feed bowl, and they also know the sound of the bag opening. So if you take one of those feed bags out or the pellet bags out and cut it open and tip it into the big bin, they know what that sound is as well. So they'll come to that. I like to think that some of them do know their names. Like I can go out and talk to them and call them by their names and they'll come and talk to me. Lottie's probably my favorite. She's the llama. She does know her name because every time I've got a group, and particularly the school kids, you're talking about llamas and their ears. Lottie always stands there with her ears back, and I go, Lottie, show me your ears. And she will put her, and she did when we were out there, and she'll put her ears up. So I like to think that yes, they do know me, and they do know the the tone. And I like to think that they know what their names are and yeah, all of that stuff. Because I feel like they talk to me and I don't really want to be that crazy. So, you know, I'm hoping that they do know.
Have you got one unforgettable alpaca moment?
Benjamin Bow, who you met, he was a rescue. He came with a number of aunties and he is very curious and he's a little bit of fun. And we had one of our neighbours from the territory, tough cattle boy, drives road trains, transports cattle for a living, right? That's what he does. So he brought some cattle down to us and he parked the truck up and he was sleeping in the truck, sorry. And I was like, right, well, I'll cook breakfast in the morning. So you just need to come up for breakfast. So we're sitting in the kitchen and could see the truck, see the door open, see the feet drop down on the other side of the truck, see Benjamin Bow running full speed at him to see what was going on and say good morning. And then we see the feet jump back up onto the back, up behind between the cab and the trailer, because he was like, what the fuck is this animal and what is it going to do to me? Because he had absolutely no idea. Anyway, I lost it. I cried laughing and I had to go out and save him. And he still talks about that day and that alpaca as well. And that was probably 5 years ago now. Yeah, it just was like, yeah, big tough cuddleman you are. You're scared of this like 3/4 grown alpaca. So yeah, that was one. And then I think like the other side of that is I had an old girl and I didn't want her to have any more babies. I was like, you can be a grandma, you know, thank you for everything that you've taught me. She, you know, she had the first baby we ever had born on the farm. Everything that I basically know about alpacas, she taught me. Her name is Alice. And she jumped the rails to get mated at 19 years old. So we had a geriatric pregnancy and kind of got to the point where she was being really funny. And I was like, there's something wrong. Like I know her and I've been through, you know, like 3 other babies with her. There is something wrong. And she got in the trough in the middle of winter, you know, she was doing all this weird stuff. So I rang a neighbor whose partner was a nurse. And I was like, do you have a stethoscope at home? Because I need to hear whether there's 2 heartbeats or 1. There's something wrong. She's really heavily pregnant and I think there's something wrong. And he was like, no, she's like not here and we don't have one at home. I was like, right. So I rang a couple of the vets, nobody would come out. In the end, I rolled her into the horse float and took her into one of the vets and drove her a couple of hours to do that and got in there. I said, I just need you to scan her and tell me whether there's 2 heartbeats. She's in labor. There's something not right, but she's not showing and she's not opening. Like I can't get in to have a look. The vet told me that it was just fluid in the uterus and she had an infection and she wasn't pregnant. I went, I know my alpaca. She's geriatric and she's really heavily pregnant. Like there's something wrong. And she's like, there's nothing there. I was like, right, okay. So we took her home. A week later, we had this really tiny baby with a club foot. So the baby was just caught up the wrong way. And that's why she'd started and couldn't go. And then the foot was all twisted up. So we had this week because the baby couldn't stand, but she let me have her in one of the sheds. She let me milk her to feed the baby and she stood still while I stood the baby up to get her to drink and do all of that. And then do, you know, my own version of physio on her leg. And I got her to the point where she could stand by herself, which was just really fabulous. But she obviously had a whole lot of other things wrong. So I ended up taking her into the vet. The vet had a look at her, gave me some antibiotics and stuff, or I brought her home. I'd done that a couple of times. So I'd take her baby and she knew that I was doing that and she knew me. So I was taking her baby, but every time I drove back in, she'd come and meet me at the gate because I had the baby again and I was bringing her back. 3rd trip, I didn't bring the baby back. And that was the hardest thing I have ever had to do, was I literally, like she was waiting at the gate and I could see her at the gate and I drove into the house. and I poured myself a glass of
Yeah.
wine because I was like, I need to have a wine to go and have this conversation with her and tell her that I'm not bringing her baby back, because there was nothing else that we could do for her.
Did she understand?
I think she did. Like, she didn't stop talking to me. That she came over and she sat down next to me and she cried with me for a while and then got up and kind of walked away. And every time I came out, she'd come out and say hello. And, you know, like she just knew. But that was probably like the hardest, I'll say, conversation that I've ever had to have, was to tell her that I wasn't bringing it back again.
Well, that brings me to my next question, actually. What is their breeding cycle? Is it similar to sheep or longer?
So their average gestation is about 340 days, so 11 and a half months.
Wow.
A really long time.
It's longer than a cow.
It is. It's a really long time. I was saying they can control the start of their pregnancies. They can also control the end. So their average gestation is 340 days, but they're not considered overdue until 380 days. They actually have a 40-day window where they cannot have their baby today.
Really?
We have never had one on a rainy day, never had one on a real windy day, never had one on a day where it's rained through the night. And they generally have their babies first thing in the morning. So if you think about where they're from, so high altitude, right? Extreme climates, but ultimately a lot of that weather comes in at nighttime. So you're having your baby at dawn in the first part of the sun, so that it's up, dry, feeding, moving with the herd by the time you get to that afternoon and that cold temperature. So even though that's not their climate and they've been raised here, there's still that innate kind of thing. So they have their babies first thing in the morning. So any like normal, natural, easy going birth, by the time you've made coffee and gone out in the morning to check on them, you've got a baby on the ground. The handful of times that I've had an afternoon baby over the years, I've intervened. Yeah. It's been around the wrong way, or it's been stuck, or, you know, like there's something not in the right spot or whatever it is. But the only time I've had afternoon ones is when we've had to assist.
And this is pretty special for you, isn't it? Seeing them born, helping them through life, to be now producing product and having personalities, and you being able to give them a kiss. And
I know.
It is
and then
nice.
Like when we were going out feeding, like I said to you, you know, we've also got some that, you know, everybody's got a different smell and a different energy, and they connect differently. So you can't choose which animal you're going to interact with or feed. You can want to. It's kind of like you can't choose. They're going to choose you, but we choose them back as our favorite because it makes us feel better about the whole thing. Like, we have animals that have never eaten out of my hand, have never eaten out of my feed bowl. And I spend a lot of time with them, and they'll come straight out to you and eat out of yours. It makes me cry a little bit on the inside every single time because I spend so much time with them, but I'm not the right fit for that particular animal. But at the same time, they know that I'm there if they need me. But they'll come straight up to you.
That's interesting. So I noticed Leona there, she was a hot favourite with all the girls.
Yes.
But she walked on the paddock with the boys.
And they
hey,
didn't
what
want to
about
bar.
me?
I know, they didn't want to bar over. So yeah, it's just kind of one of those, like one of those things. And yeah, you can go from the boys to the girls. And we say to people, you know, like if we're in with the boys and they're feeding and you're not their favourite, can guarantee you when you walk into the girls, you'll be mobbed. It's like, it's really quite interesting the way that works. So it's we always come in and then just stand still, and the alpacas will kind of fuss around and they'll work out who they like the best, and then they'll kind of, just then you can't shake them.
These are surprising animals to me. I'm learning stats. They're so fascinating. Do the alpacas, do they all get along, or is there a little bit of farmyard drama?
There can be. They do generally, yes. And it's always really interesting when you introduce a new group of alpacas. And that's one of my favourite moments. So when we bring home new ones, or we take in rescues and we introduce them to the herd the first time, because you get this kind of like when you go to the Christmas party, right? And so you walk in the door and it's like, hi, I'm Amee, how you going? Let's shake hands. And then everybody goes off into their like separate little groups, and you'll watch them, and they're kind of the new little group will just kind of be on one kind of side, and they'll move around a little bit. But then you and I might go and meet at the bar, right? And you go, oh, you should come and meet my friends. So then I'll go with you to meet them. And then over like the space of a couple of weeks, you'll see them kind of integrate in further and further. Like it just, but But then when you watch them, when they go to settle of a nighttime, they will still sit in their original
Really?
groups.
Yeah.
And they do recognize groups and babies over time. So if you introduce, like, put them back into a paddock with a baby that's, 3 or 4 years old that they haven't been in a paddock with for a couple of years, they will know that baby when they go back in with them. Like, their memories are quite intense, and they know all of that.
God, they're clever.
Yeah, they're really intelligent creatures.
Amy, we're up to the off-the-wall questions.
Yes. Okay.
What do people misunderstand about you most?
Oh, I'm not really sure.
You're very clever. You're very creative.
Yeah, I think
You're a character.
yeah.
You're caring. It all starts with C so far.
It does. It does. There are probably some other words that start with C in it. I think just the I'm not even sure whether the word is drive. Like, it's, they kind of go, well, it was one of the questions you asked. So when do you actually have time to do that? Or when do you do that? But you just do. Like, it's kind of like, if you want something done, you ask a busy person.
Yeah.
There's always something to do. That's the way that we were kind of brought up. And there's always something to kind of think about. So I think it's not necessarily a choice. It's just it just is who I am.
Yeah. If you could give your 18-year-old self some advice, what would it be?
Don't do it.
Since I've met you today, so many times you've said, "Oh, why not? Let's give it a go."
No, I think if I could go back to 18-year-old me, one of the things that I have learnt more recently and as I've got older is that you need to see the opportunity in the challenge, and that there's a real little bit of magic that happens when you say yes. So when an opportunity comes at you that you see as a challenge, and a lot of people will go, oh no, that's too hard. Oh no, I can't do that. We've always gone, yeah, okay, with no idea how it's going to happen or how you're going to put it together or what it is. But when you say yes, and there's a thing and there's a time frame, there's a little bit of magic that just happens. And the person that has got the piece of information that you're missing will just come out of the woodwork. Yeah, it will connect and it will come together. And I think if I could tell something to my 18-year-old self, it would be that trust that there is actually that little bit of magic that happens.
Well said. What time of the day do you get your best work done?
Generally first thing in the morning before everybody else gets up and the world just starts. Yeah.
There's some late nights too.
Oh, yes.
Yep.
Yes. But definitely I like the morning.
Coffee or a cold glass of wine with anyone, that could be dead or alive, who would it be?
Popper.
Yeah.
Yeah. We only lost him a few years ago. And he was 93. So up at Curtin Springs.
Yeah, he did a lot of up there.
A really incredible thing. And we've spoken quite a lot over the last kind of probably 6 months or so about some of the stuff that we're doing here, and Popper would just get it. Like, when other people haven't got it or really understood what we're trying to do or how big a deal something is, Popper always got it. Like, even at 90, he just got it. Nice. So if I could sit and have a beer with him, there's some stuff that I want to tell him, just so he could go like, that's great, dear. But then there's just, it'd be really nice to ask him some advice on some stuff too.
And I think some of his work, there'd be a lot of people in Australia that have held on to that. Is that right, that he built the chain going up Ayers Rock?
Yes.
Wow. And he surveyed the airport, did he?
Yeah, he did. He built the first airstrip. He graded the first airstrip out at the base of the rock, and he was part of the gang that put the chain on the rock originally. Wow. And he really pioneered, tourism into Central Australia and, helped make the rock the destination that it kind of is. So, there's like everybody and he was a character.
Was he?
Like, there's so many people, and you could almost set your watch by 5 o'clock and he'd be in the bar ready to tell stories. Except one day it was like 5:20, and one of the bar staff actually came into the kitchen to find me and go, Amee, Popper's not in the bar. Like 5 o'clock, Popper's, and it was like, right. And I was, preparing myself for the fact that, like Popper was maybe, like no longer with us. And I get over to his house and I knock on the door and I'm, Popper. He's like, yes, dear. I was like, Popper, what are you doing? He discovered Who Wants to Be a Millionaire. And it ran until 5:30.
It upset the whole bar staff.
It did. It was like, I'm watching this show. I was like, what are you watching, Popper? He's like, oh, Who Wants to Be a Millionaire? It's quite interesting. I know the answers to some of these questions. So we kind of had to rearrange the schedule, and he came over to the bar at 5:30 after that but it was just, like you could literally set your clock by some of that. So yeah, everybody that, really has ever been through there has got a story about, can tell you one of the stories that Popper told them when they stopped and had a drink with him.
Well, I'm sure he's still here with you.
Yes, although I do have something to say, because I have 2 farming grandfathers that are upstairs at the moment, sitting having a drink at the bar and not paying any attention to the fact that their granddaughter has had no rain for 2 years. So, there are also some quite harsh words that need to be said when we have that beer as well.
You said before this is the toughest drought in South Australia's history.
Yes.
Wow. Amee, back to your paddock here. Who's the cheekiest alpaca in the mob?
Benjamin Bow.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Who's the fastest to the treat bucket?
Oh, at the moment, that would definitely be Valentine.
Valentine. Go Valentine.
Yes.
If your property here...
Or really probably the camels, because they've got longer legs and can run faster. But
get over fences.
Yeah.
If your property here had a band...
A band?
What would its name be? I've come up with one.
Give it to me.
Amee and the Alpacas.
Yeah, that's it. I was like, because we've got Alvin and the Chipmunks. But, Amee and the Alpacas. Yeah,
what sort of music would it be?
Look.
Orchestral? Yeah. Well, depending on what season, what's going on out there.
I think it would depend on the season. Alpacas aren't quiet, so it would definitely be something with a lot of words in it. So we might even just go with rap or something with, because they're always talkative.
Do you have alpacas that are more introverted?
Yes.
Or even grumpy?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. No, they are very much like people, and it's personality, not environment. Like there are some that are naturally really shy, others that are kind of completely just outrageous and outgoing, and really they can be really clever about it as well and be really cheeky. So we've got one, I think you were feeding him out in the feeding yard. So his name is Manrico, and he's one of our studs. And he actually chooses a person before they walk into the feeding yard. And as you walk in, you don't realize, but he has snorted in your bowl. So then when the other alpacas come over to your bowl, they smell his smell and won't eat out of it, which means he gets the whole bowl.
Yeah, there was something funny going on there.
Yeah. So you were only feeding him because he had snorted in that bowl, which meant none of the others would eat out of it, and he gets the whole lot.
He owned that bowl.
He did.
And was he a little bit more chubbier than perhaps the others?
He's definitely he's got it all figured out. Like, he's a very clever boy.
Have any of them ever tried to come into the house?
Yes, we have had alpacas in the house, in the shop.
What do you do? Because I can't imagine you saying get out.
No, they and we've had them in the shop before and taken them through, and we've done, we've had alpacas in TV studios and all kinds of things. They're actually, we've got a couple of them that are just happy to do whatever, as long as there's food involved. They will do whatever you want them to do.
And Amee, one last question. If you could live anywhere in the world, where would it be?
Somewhere where it rains slightly more than here. So do I have to be somewhere else, or can I be here and just bring in...
You can do a mix mash if you like. I don't care.
Yeah, maybe like here, but bring in a little bit more rain.
Yeah.
That would kind of, be nice.
Do you miss the territory?
I do. There's something about the red sand that is under your skin, and you either love it and it's part of you forever, or you hate it. There's actually not an in-between. So yes, we miss it every day. Can I have alpacas there? No, like I'm kind of in this. It's kind of a tough one, but like ultimately at the end of the day, I kind of get the best of both worlds. That we can go and do that, and know that that's kind of the heart and soul, but then also bringing those skills and knowledge and experiences and stuff, and being able to kind of work on our own little thing is kind of really cool too. And doing that, knowing that we have the full support of everybody to do it.
Yeah. Well, if we want to learn more about your family, there are other episodes here
Coming.
on Salt of the Earth Farm
Yes.
Stories we can hear about and learn about. Amee, you have been very generous today with your time and showing me around and my family.
Yes.
You are very clever.
Thank
You're
you.
very creative.
Thanks for coming.
You're gutsy. You're hardworking. And you're very generous
Thank
and
you.
caring.
Thank you.
So thanks for having me, Amee.
No, thanks for coming. It's been fun.
Well, what an episode. A huge thanks to Amee Dennis for sharing the laughs, the lessons, and the absolute joy that is life at Quentin Park Alpacas and Studio Gallery. From toilet-trained alpacas to sensory experiences that are changing lives. This is what it's all about. Connection, courage, and a whole lot of heart. If you loved part A and B with Amee, make sure to share it around, leave us a review, and go check out what Amee's up to, because there's always something magical happening at Quentin Park. And just Google Quentin Park Alpacas. Until next time, stay curious, stay connected, and maybe go visit Amee.